Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every week, possibly weekend or weekday or month. I don't know. Time is for squares. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. What's going on, dude?
Time is a flat circle, man, and it is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so.
Did you just watch the Jim Carrey playing Matthew McConaughey thing on Saturday Night Live again?
No, but you mentioned the whole time thing, and it's just like I thought of time being a flat circle and all that, and how much I really love this new season of True Detective.
I don't know if he's dreaming me or I'm dreaming him. Well, Mike, we actually have news to talk about. The last couple of weeks have been kind of light on movies, but this week, not so much. We're going to dive right into it. We got a new Ghostbusters movie out.
Yeah, well, it definitely has been light, but I think I forget if it was towards the end of last week or beginning of this week. But there was a lot of news that sort of came up at around the same time, and it's like, wow, when it rains, it pours, man.
Let's dive in. You've seen the new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is the one that when the trailer came out, I wasn't immediately sold on it. What do we think of this, Mike?
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
It honestly, I liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really did. I think it was a very sweet like a Lego sequel that brought the franchise in the modern day.
Yeah.
You've got younger characters that needed to be introduced. So, it took its time. It really, nothing has felt rushed with Ghostbusters. I feel like that last movie.
My only issue, and we've talked about this before with I actually really liked Afterlife too. I thought it was fun. I just thought the timeline of when Egon would have left, had a family, had grandkids and all that, I thought that was a little wonky. Like, I kind of feel like they just force it into that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember the full details of how that all played out, but I could kind of see that criticism. And to be absolutely fair, one of the small criticisms I have about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is it's not as emotional as Afterlife.
Okay.
There's definitely more story that could be built up in here. I mean, it is a relatively short film, but the main thing that I did like about Frozen Empire is it's getting closer to what Ghostbusters originally was. It's probably the sequel that's gotten the closest to what the original was going for, because it's, they bring everything back to New York. There's a new big bad they've got to deal with. Walter Peck is back again, and all this other how they bring him back is rather interesting because it's not outwardly mentioned in this trailer, but if you're a Ghostbuster fan and you see the office he's speaking from, he's the mayor of New York.
Yeah,
that's Lenny's office from Ghostbusters 1.
Lenny.
You know what? You could be saving the lives of 2 million registered voters, or I forget what the number was.
You could be saving the
voters.
lives of millions of registered voters. If we're wrong, we're wrong. We'll go to the thing. We'll enjoy it. But if we're right, you'll have saved the lives of millions of registered voters.
And that is the sort of energy that comes back with Frozen Empire. It's still pretty family friendly.
Okay.
But the movie does grow up a little more because its leads are growing up. We've got Phoebe played by McKenna Grace, who's at the beginning of the movie, she's kind of straining against the fact that her family is trying to do what's best for her, and she's technically too young to be a Ghostbuster. And she's like, dude, I've been building this and busting ghosts for a movie and change now. You're going to sideline me in this moment?
Yeah.
The Legacy Ghostbusters get more to do. They're not just really, they're pretty much cameos in the first movie. I get why you would want to do that because you don't want to overshadow the young cast. They work well with the younger cast in this one. Like, you've got Dan Aykroyd going into the field and doing investigations with some of the younger actors. You've got Ernie Hudson basically being the Tony Stark of Ghostbusters, building this new center, having all this money and equipment. And it's like, from a friend of mine pointed it out to me, and I was like, I totally missed that the first time around. And then, of course, you see in the trailer, Venkman is still Venkman, and Janine finally gets to suit up as a Ghostbuster. I could have used a little more of that, but it was still nice to see Annie Potts just back in, suited up, fighting with the gang.
Real quick, going back to her, like, if they would have just made her the wife that Egon got after Ghostbusters 2 to set off the timeline of where we're at now, I feel like that would have made more sense to me.
I feel feel like Ghostbusters on a whole never really knew what it wanted to do with the character of Janine. Because the first one, you do have her sort of
pining for
like
Egon.
she's gonna be, you see her going after Egon, and it looks like they might get together. And there was also a big change in style between the first one, where she dresses more like a traditional secretary, and then Ghostbusters 2, where she has more outrageous style with like the blue glasses we now associate her with. She looked really cool, but then also she was going after Lewis. And it's like, I feel like there wasn't a consistency with the character, but it was always nice to see Annie Potts there, which is why I really liked how they handled her in both. In Afterlife and Frozen Empire, I feel, have done the most for Annie Potts and for Ernie Hudson, because both of those, Janine and Winston, are two of the characters that were most underserved, because the story is legend about how Ernie Hudson signed up for a totally different Ghostbusters. Yeah. And then by the time he got to shoot the movie, so many of his pages were cut. Winston was turned from an Air Force major who had UFO experience and believed into a blue-collar guy who's like, I'll believe in anything for a paycheck. That's not a bad character, and I'm not looking down on that, but when you have such a wildly different swing,
it's tough.
I really want to read that draft of what Winston was beforehand. And for as much as Ernie Hudson has been critical about that, he also loves the fans. He loves the fact that he's part of this, and he likes that he's getting to do more with Winston in the Legacy sequels.
One of my career highlights in the world of radio, we got to interview Ernie Hudson like he was in the studio with us, right? He was in town for Des Moines Comic-Con, and we brought Twinkies, and he did that's a big Twinkie line for us. And there wasn't any like rolling of the eyes or whatever. He had fun with it. He was a cool dude. And yeah, it was really cool to meet Ernie. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me. So Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, good.
Yes, good. Go see it. Last thing I'll throw in is, Ghostbuster. Good. Go see Ghostbuster. But yeah, last thing I'll throw in is throwing in people like James Acaster, Patton Oswalt, and Kumail Nanjiani, like throwing in more comedians, the right move. Because not only are you building out the Ghostbusters ranks as these people could come back in future sequels, it was also just nice to see like comedians killing it in a movie like this, because that was I don't think many people realize how sort of edge of the seat making Ghostbusters 84 was, because they had it was one of those movies where they found it in the edit. Like they had a script and they cut it down for improvs and for really feeling the energy. And just, it came out fantastic, but it was not perfect and like straightforward by any means.
One other thing, you know what I like about Winston being kind of the Tony Stark of this world?
What?
At one point, it was when the other version of Ghostbusters with who was in it?
The 2016 one with Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones.
There was an idea that came up on whether or not it was going to be a part of the actual Ghostbusters world or it was going to be a different world. But there was an idea of like Ghostbusters has gotten big and now there are franchises of Ghostbusters across the country. Yeah,
that was one of the original sequel pitches that I think they were developing. I think that might have been something that might have been an Acolyte idea that was developing. I know they did comics. So they had comics that definitely explored that.
So with Winston being kind of the Tony Stark of this world, like I kind of think like that might be a thing. Like you might be able to have Ghostbusters Europe or different franchises of this and do different movies and different stories. You know what I'm saying?
Dan Aykroyd already has made it readily apparent that he wants to do that sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
He feels that it is definitely built into there. And he's like, oh, yeah, we could go over to Europe and do things like, I forget what specific things he mentioned, like examples. But he definitely, that's something that Dan Aykroyd's had keenly on his mind, and I hope that they do.
Cool.
That feels like the logical progression for the next film. Like you maybe start taking this on the road, because we've already been outside of New York with Afterlife. we went back to New York for Frozen Empire. I think that would be that's your big move is you go international. You go on like a ghost-busting road trip.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. All right, some of the other movies, we'll probably do some time traveling at the end of this. The new Roadhouse movie's out. That's going to be out on Prime, if I remember, Hulu or something.
Yes, on Amazon Prime as of Thursday. I do have other movies that I've seen that I could talk about.
No, that's what I was getting to that. I was just explaining the Roadhouse thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't really care if we talk about Roadhouse because I think it looks like garbage, and I have a particular love for the first Roadhouse. But we'll definitely cover it, and we'll give it its fair share. So.
Well, yeah, there is certainly there is a very interesting divide with this film, and from what I am hearing so far, I think it's going to come down to how much you like Jake Gyllenhaal and how much you believe him in this role.
Okay.
But also, a lot of people are saying Conor McGregor is like a breakout in this thing, so that's another thing we should keep in mind.
He looks awful in all the trailers for it. Like, I don't buy, like, everybody else in the movie I could buy. Like, it looks like, oh, that's just Conor McGregor trying to act. So when I see people saying, oh yeah, he's a breakout actor, I'm like, how?
He's basically just being a yelling like it up. That's all he's doing. He's being a bad guy.
All right. So some of the other movies that are coming out this weekend. What do we got, Mike?
So we have a film that is going to be in theaters this weekend, but on Shudder April 19th. It's called Late Night with the Devil.
Okay.
And it is about it's about a talk show in 1977. On Halloween night, late night host Jack Delroy, played by David Dastmalchian, hosts a Halloween spectacular.
Oh boy.
And hilarity ensues. And by hilarity, I mean some serious supernatural happening.
And the devil shows up.
I mean, I cannot confirm or deny that the devil is in Late Night with the Devil. So it is a devil. I think it's a devil, but not the devil.
I gotcha.
But it's, oh man, it feels like a play. And I mean that in the best way possible. And that's also after knowing that, they filmed this thing in long takes. David Dastmalchian was a guest on Overdue Rentals this week, and talking with him about how he made this movie and how he got into the character of this late night host was such a joy, because he's like, yeah, I was screwing up takes and I just kind of ran with it. And it was very freeing to be able to do that, because, it brought him back to his own theater background.
Okay.
But Colin and Cameron Cairns are the directors of this film. And it is really electrifying. It is very much, it's basically this is the last known footage of the Jack Delroy's show Night Owls. And it cuts back and forth between the broadcast and footage from a documentary team that was on hand to cover the evening's events. Okay. And things just slowly build up into more horrific, and in a more horrific manner. Like it's a slow burn, but it's a little over an hour and a half, and it is lightning quick. It is so much fun, and I like seeing David Dastmalchian getting a leading role, because the dude has proved himself to be a fantastic actor through various character actor roles. Like, I mean, I still remember him from when I first saw him in The Dark Knight, and for that to be his first movie, that
I know who that is now.
Yep, he was the decoy police officer that Gordon confronts, and I remember seeing him for the first time and was just impressed, and like the electricity of this guy really looking like he had that crazy man energy.
He was the polka dot man in Suicide Squad. He was in Dune.
Oh, I love him in Suicide Squad.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I love
Oppenheimer.
Him in anything, really. He's in Prisoners. Oh yeah, he's fantastic. And oh man,
okay.
Oppenheimer is a fantastic example of a director casting their film with a whole bunch of actors, and no one gets left behind, or everyone gets their moment. And Christopher Nolan was his first film director.
Okay.
So to see him return with him and do things like that is great. But
cool.
Yeah, Late Night with the Devil is rad.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line. What else do we got this week?
Another film that I believe this is in theaters and on VOD this weekend. It's called One Life, and it stars Anthony Hopkins and Johnny Flynn. It is about the true story of Nicholas Winton, who was a London stockbroker that got involved with saving children during the Holocaust, like getting Jewish children out of Czechoslovakia over to England so that way they could be safe from the Nazi war machine that was
Have you seen this?
annexing. I have seen it. It's very good.
It's probably a hard watch, I'm guessing.
It is definitely an emotional watch.
Okay.
Because Sir Nicholas Winton was known as the British Schindler, is the nickname I've heard from him.
Okay.
I've not heard from him, but heard for him.
Okay.
And it jumps back and forth between the period in the 1980s where he was eventually celebrated for his actions through a show in England called That's Life. And this is a story that has gone around social media where they show clips of him basically meeting the children that he saved grown up in like this is your life sort of show. It jumps between the efforts to commemorate and to donate his papers from those efforts to museums. And then it also shows him as a young man with Johnny Flynn playing the younger Anthony Hopkins, basically executing that effort to save the children.
Okay, cool. That sounds like a good movie. It sounds like not the feel-good movie of the year, but a good movie nonetheless.
It is feel-good, but it is also just it's traumatic to a point because of the fact that people have gone through such things, and people continue to go through such horrific travesties, even at what we're seeing right now. You know, it was just
So. Mike Reyes, what else? Is there any other movies this week?
Let me just, double check in the hopper. I have not seen Immaculate, but that's Sydney Sweeney's Immaculate Conception pregnancy non-horror movie, which looks like a lot of fun. The American Society of Magical Negroes comes out this week as well.
Okay.
And I believe Netflix has Shirley, which is about Black politician Shirley Chisholm, which will also be debuting on streaming this weekend.
All right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line.
It's a big weekend, folks.
Well, I mean, like we said at the beginning of this, compared to the last few weeks, it's been kind of sparse on new movies. But moving over to the world of movie news and all that, at the time of recording this, and we're recording the bulk of this on Wednesday the 20th, so apparently we're going to be getting a Beetlejuice 2 trailer either later on today, maybe tomorrow, or sometime soon is kind of what the word is. And it looks like we got our first look at Beetlejuice 2 with some of the stills from the movie. Yeah,
Entertainment Weekly has broken the first stills, which have shown us Michael Keaton back in full Beetlejuice regalia. We've also seen our first look at Justin Theroux and Jenna Ortega's characters.
Yep.
And also our first look at the return of Catherine O'Hara and Winona Ryder. So it's very intriguing to read the little drips and drabs that they're revealing so far. But even then, there's sort of they're being cautious with what they're revealing because obviously this is a huge legacy sequel. People have been looking forward to Beetlejuice coming back pretty much since '88 when it first came out.
Yeah.
And now, after some false starts and some various scripts reported here and there, we have and even a writer and actor strike that came down literally, I think it was like days before they were finished shooting last year. We now have, we're going to be getting our first look at footage, but we also have our first look at these photos.
Very cool. So if it drops here, because like I said, we're probably going to do some time traveling with the Roadhouse stuff. But if it drops, we'll definitely include that in there. One of the other trailers that dropped yesterday, and rumor has it the Beetlejuice thing was supposed to happen, but because Disney released the Acolyte trailer, it may have been pushed back.
That was the rumor that I had read. Yeah,
okay.
A friend of mine had clued me into Beetlejuice was supposed to drop yesterday at noon, and then it didn't happen because they didn't want to compete with Star Wars, which I can see that.
Yeah,
I can totally see that.
That's smart. Let's talk about The Acolyte. This is a trailer for a new series we're going to get on Disney Plus. It's going to be coming out, I believe, in June. It's set about 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace, and it has to do. It looks. You know what I honestly thought when I first saw it? It
What?
looked like if you mixed Star Wars with The Matrix.
And that's not just because Carrie-Anne Moss is in there.
No, but some of the moves and how they were filming it and things they were doing, it reminded me. I'm like, wow, this seems like this is Star Wars in the Matrix world.
That's fair because it did look the words "wire food" did cross my mind when watching this show, and not in a bad way.
No.
It definitely yeah. I mean, the action looks fantastic. I'm intrigued about this story, which is basically it looks like a procedural murder mystery where Jedi are being killed. The Sith are about to rise up, and what's really interesting about this is I read the interview that the showrunner Leslie Headland did for StarWars.com, and she mentioned how one of the things that really intrigued her was she wanted to portray the Sith as the underdogs. She mentioned that, Star Wars has always been a series about rooting for the underdogs and wanting them to win. And it's like, well, what if we show the Sith as underdogs? Like that was the hook that she wanted to play out. And the way she described the Sith in the High Republic era is pretty apt because she had said it's kind of like seeing a velociraptor in the modern day. It's like I never thought I would really see one of these in the wild. I'm not really sure how I should be dealing with this.
You know what the biggest thing about this is why I'm willing to give it a shot?
Why?
It's in a different time period than everything else Star Wars has done.
Exactly. The High Republic goes back as far as 200 years before Phantom Menace, I think. Because I think that's where the books and comics that built the foundation started. And now that we're seeing it adapted into a series, like this is 100 years down the line from that, because one of the characters from those books is going to be in here.
We had this conversation a few months ago, but I always thought that was one of the things that made it a little bit easier to watch all the different Star Trek was a lot of it is in different eras where you didn't have stories crossing paths as much, where Kirk is, 75, years before the Next Generation. And then, Discovery was 10 years before Kirk. And then 1,000 years after. You had opportunities where you didn't write yourself into a corner because of what was happening in some other movie, kind of like with Star Wars and really the Marvel universe.
Exactly. It wasn't so obsessed with continuity, or it didn't have to be so obsessed with continuity.
Well, you had more room to grow that continuity. Like if something happened in Kirk's era, you could say, oh, well, yeah, this happened, and then it led to this, this, and this, which brings us to, chapter 14 of Next Generation or what have you. It seemed like they had more room to work with.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't just plotting everything next to each other and keeping it as tight and compact as possible. People weren't really asking for that at that point, so they didn't really need to feed that need. Yeah. But once Marvel came around, that seemed to be the template for any universe. It's like, okay, people clearly like this. Some people took some of the wrong lessons, I guess. It's like, okay, people like this. We need to be as tightly compact as possible. We need to plan everything out. We need to have it all on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm open to this. I'm more open to this than like Boba Fett or something like that. It looks different. That's the thing I like the most. So we'll see what happens with it.
Well, yeah, and it's also removed from the Skywalker saga, which we need time away from that.
But you know that they're going to have some Easter egg in there that talks about the Chosen One or something.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Easter eggs. I'm fine with little things here and there, but it can't be the sole focus. You need to do something new to keep the story alive.
I will say this. I would not mind a series of Anakin Skywalker's adventures, like in the Force world, like what we saw him with Ahsoka.
What you saw with Ahsoka.
Yeah. Oh, have you not seen Ahsoka yet?
No.
No.
And that's another reason I'm excited for the Acolyte, because I don't have to do so much homework to watch it.
Okay. All right.
And I know some people are going to be like, "Oh, you binge things all the time. You can binge this, you can binge that, blah blah blah." It's like, this is different. This is a whole complicated, huge web of things that if you missed one piece, you'd probably be lost, and it just would not be as exciting for you. Whereas Leslie Headland has said you don't have to know that much to go in and watch The Acolyte. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm glad.
I'll tell you this much. I liked Ahsoka. I liked it better than a lot of the other stuff. I liked it better than the Mandalorian stuff. I liked it better than Boba Fett. I think mainly because it seemed more Star Wars to me. There was lightsabers. And I know you're not always crazy about that, but it just seemed, it was easier to watch. I don't know. I wish I could explain
I
it more.
love lightsabers.
I love lightsabers. They're so cool.
I'm fine with lightsabers. It's just the people that are using them don't always have to be Skywalkers.
I love having my lightsaber, except my lightsaber is in storage right now, which blows. What if I need it? What if someone attacks the house? What are they going to do when they see a 40-something-year-old man ignite a lightsaber in the middle of the night wearing only his underwear?
What if Tusken Raiders decide to come to your house tonight and just, make that noise outside of your window? You're not going to be able to protect yourself.
Is that their noise? I can't remember.
I think so. Yeah.
That was close.
Come on. All we need is a good guy with a lightsaber.
You know what was funny? One of the funniest things about the original Star Wars movie, when they started redoing it and Obi-Wan starts making the different noises to scare the Tusken Raiders away. Have you heard those?
I don't think so.
Like in every one they've redone it, and he makes it sound like or whatever it is, and then like in the next movie it's something completely different. Then it's something. It's really funny.
Yes, but is it as funny as dropping in a commercial for Santa Fe?
They saw crystal! No, it's not that funny. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me. A couple other trailers that dropped. Harold and the Purple Crayon. I don't know anything about this, and you were saying that it dropped this morning as on Wednesday. Dude has a purple crayon. It's about a book. Guy with purple, or somebody with a purple crayon draws stuff and it comes to life.
Yeah, it's based off of the children's book of the same name, Harold and the Purple Crayon, and it looks like, just based on the look that I got at this trailer, it looks like the lore is supposed to be Zachary Levi's playing a grown-up version of the kid from the book, and the book may have been based off of his adventures as a kid with this purple crayon that can materialize anything. And I don't know, man. I don't know.
The things I would draw with this crayon.
I think the movie stands to have a chance at doing decently because of the fact that we're so starved for kids content at the movies.
Okay.
Like, there aren't as many family movies as there used to be going out. And you saw Super Mario Brothers crossing 1 billion last year. That, like, IP plus kids movie, like, that was printing money. I don't know how well this will do, but I think it may not just, it might have a possibility to sneak up with some degree of success. I'm not sure if this is going to be for me, but I'll give it a shot. But so far this trailer is not winning me too much. But trailers are tricky.
Yeah.
You can't really, like, it's especially with certain types of movies and like shorter movies, it's hard to decide what you want to show off and what you want to save because you don't want to spoil too much of like a short comedy or a kids movie.
One of the other trailers that came out, we got another look at The Fall Guy. Ryan Gosling starring as an actor or something. I know we've talked about this. I don't remember too much.
Well, Ryan Gosling is a stunt performer who is looking into the disappearance of his lead actor, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who may or may not be cast as our new James Bond, depending on what huge rumors that dropped this week are saying.
Oh, we got Bond rumors. Better talk about that.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But if you saw the first trailer for The Fall Guy and you're sold, I would say you don't need to watch this trailer, but that's only because this trailer is just more gold that, like, I watched it to see if there was a new angle I could cover. And I still love the look of this movie. I still love the energy, the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I'm all in. I just don't want to spoil too much of it for myself before I see it. And now I'm kicking myself that I didn't go last week because there was like a random advanced screening in New York last week. And on one hand, I didn't really want to have to travel to the city if I wasn't officially covering it yet. But on the other hand, it was The Fall Guy. And Universal, I'm sorry. If you bring me a screening of The Fall Guy, I will go. Please do this for me. My family needs this.
One of the other trailers that I just happened to stumble across it yesterday, we got another one for Ministry of Gentlemanly Warfare. I really want to see this.
I don't know if I watched a new trailer, but what I did see was
Like a new
Henry
clip or
Cavill,
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the Henry Cavill, Alan Richardson clip.
Yeah. I think so. I don't know.
Okay, so
This was yesterday, and I've had a weird couple days, so.
there is a clip of the two of them talking about working on the movie together. And part of it is, they're taking the piss out and saying, Henry Cavill's like, oh, he's horrible, unprofessional. I don't want to work with him anymore. And then at the end, of course, he's like, just kidding. He was fantastic. And then they're showing this moment where it looks like they're cornered by Nazis on a boat. And him and Alan Richardson are like doing accents. And I can't tell if this is a finished scene from the movie or an outtake. And I am saying that in a complimentary way, because these two look like they are having the most fun time goofing off together. And I think they could be the next Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, because of the whole pretending to have a feud thing, and just even the sort of like buddy bunny energy that they have with each other. Which, did you hear? We talked about the Henry Cavill rumor for Deadpool 3, right?
Yes, that he might be in there as Wolverine.
How cool would it be if they got Alan Richardson to play his variant's Deadpool?
Oh, that'd be cool. Be all right with that.
And then you could make a joke about like, oh, I'm the one that Rob Liefeld drew with like the huge muscles and like poorly shaped teeth, or like I know those are the jokes that everybody loves to make about Rob Liefeld's art, and it's like, why not just lean into that and just totally go nuts? And if they haven't done it for this movie, you know what? Maybe that should just be what happens going forward.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me. All right, as we get towards the end of this, we'll probably be doing some time traveling to talk about Roadhouse. But what's this Roadhouse? What's the Bond news you were saying?
So for the second time in almost 2 years, because the last time I saw this happen was back in the end of 2022, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who you may know from films like Kick-Ass, The King's Man, Bullet Train, he's going to be in The Fall Guy. He's been hotly tipped as the front runner to play the next James Bond.
Okay.
Because before the writer strikes and actor strikes kicked in, the plan had seemed to be Bond 26, whatever it'll be called, would start shooting this year. I don't know how accurate that is anymore, because not too long ago, Barbara Broccoli was at a huge event, and she said something along the lines of, "Yeah, we haven't done any work on it yet. We haven't begun yet." So what I'm about to say should be taken with another grain of salt, because apparently Aaron Taylor Johnson may be days away from signing a contract to play the 7th James Bond.
You heard it here first. Guaranteed to happen. Per Mike Reyes of Cinema Blend.
Yeah, thanks for reporting from the British tabloid The Sun, which they love to break news like this, whether it's true or not, because they're whisperings. They're insider reports from unnamed sources. And apparently he might already be good to go for this. We're not sure yet. He's been very coy about any sort of chances playing this role, because he's not only been doing press for The Fall Guy, but before the strikes kind of pushed the movie into this year, he was also doing press last year for Kraven the Hunter. I think he would be an interesting choice. It's definitely a safe choice, but he would be a good choice, because he is young enough that he can do multiple films. I'm sure they want to get back to a one every 2 years format.
Hopefully.
He definitely can he can definitely pivot to humor. He can definitely do the seriousness of the action. So it really just depends on what type of Bond they want to go for. But he's a good choice. It's just, if they really want to do something big and bold, they should keep looking. And that's not me saying Aaron Taylor Johnson's a bad choice. That's not me saying I wouldn't watch him as Bond. I think he would be good. But it's sort of a similar caveat I have to, I really want Henry Cavill to still be Bond. But at the same time, is that too safe? Or should we be pushing for something new?
You know what might be interesting for Henry?
What?
Hear me out on this. What if you made him an older retired Bond that comes back to, like, give it another like 5-10 years where he's got a little bit more age on him, and like it's like a Bond that comes out of retirement type thing.
That'd be interesting. I mean, I don't know if they would necessarily want to do that for the official Bond movies, but if you do one of those like file off the serial numbers sort of unofficial,
Yeah.
like do it under a different franchise name, I think you'd have a better chance of getting that up off the ground, and it would sound fun.
Right.
And there is a project there's a comic called King of Spies, where it's basically like a Bond type is aging, dying of cancer, and comes back into service for like one last mission.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought of
And
that,
then,
but
of course, there's a chance of making him a villain, because my wife was looking over at me earlier and she's like, "Go rogue, make him a villain."
oh, that'd be cool too. He'd be a good villain.
He would. He can clearly do it all.
Back to Aaron Taylor Johnson. Let's hope he signs the deal before Kraven the Hunter ruins his career.
I don't think it'll ruin his career. I think I don't think Madam Web is going to ruin any actor's career, because they're looking at that more along the lines of the studio might have interfered.
Yeah, I know.
There's a problem. Oh boy.
I'm sure Sydney Sweeney's going to be just fine.
We got a poster for Alien Romulus.
Alien Romulus, what's that?
It looks like we got a poster for Alien Romulus, which is the next Alien movie coming out
Tomorrow.
Oh no, it's out in August.
Okay. Is this
Poster
on like?
looks cool. It's very simple, but it's just like a drooling xenomorph.
Okay.
But you know that drool is acid, and you should be afraid. So it looks cool.
God, I do not need any more Alien movies.
Well, good. Then stay home. I'll go see them.
All right, you go see it. Go see it all you want. Yay, another Alien movie. I don't know. I didn't dig the Prometheus movies and all that.
Well, it's okay for you to be wrong. You can do that every now and then.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every Friday on the show to talk about movies.
And to berate him into retirement.
Oh, God. Mike, we'll possibly be doing some time travel here in a few minutes. Maybe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we time traveled all of 30 seconds into the future. Long story short, as soon as I stopped recording and got ready to save this, Mike goes, "Oh my God, we got a teaser for Alien Romulus." So we both just watched it. And Mike, what do you think?
I think this thing looks like nightmare fuel, and I need it now.
I was doing commentary. I was going, and it's like, yep, got a road flare in space. That makes sense. There are some pretty gruesome scenes in this and some kind of terrifying things happening.
Oh, man. Yeah, we did. Oh, Fede Alvarez, man. I tip my hat to him, because Evil Dead 2013 was fantastic. Don't Breathe was fantastic. The twisted man behind those movies has now given us an Alien movie, and this trailer this teases exactly what I would expect from that man's twisted sensibilities.
The premise on Wikipedia is set between the events of Alien and Aliens, the sequel. The story is a group of young people on a distant world who find themselves in a confrontation with the most terrifying life form in the universe. This is the setup to Aliens, right?
Maybe.
Which,
I mean, I think they're trying to go as generic with the log line as possible, because there's still surprises that are going to be coming out of this.
But that's going to be the twist at the end. It's like, oh, this is the setup for Aliens, and here comes Ripley's ship or whatever.
I don't think so, because Hadley's Hope was a full-fledged colony by that point. Like there was, like, you see, especially in the extended cut of Aliens, you see Hadley's Hope like inhabited with people, and there's already a framework that's in play.
Okay.
And now now you've got this. Maybe this is the mission that goes before that. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. It looks like it might even be solely on a space station. I don't know what to expect, and I'm glad.
I will say the scene of them pulling a tentacle out of that girl's mouth is horrible.
Fede Alvarez, man. I think that Fede Alvarez is that twisted man. And for those of you who remember Don't Breathe, that's kind of getting off light. But also, I remember Evil Dead 2013 I think it still has the record of the most fake blood used in production. And he is doing the Lord's work with this. Ridley Scott is apparently blown away by this movie, because a couple months ago there was a report saying he had seen a cut of the film and then talked to Fede Alvarez, and I think he dropped an F-bomb with him where he's like, it's fantastic. So I'm here. I'm here for this.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. All right, we are going to maybe do a little bit more time travel here. Yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll see if we talk about what. Huh?
Yeah. In the meantime, Alien Romulus will be in theaters on August 16th.
All right, sounds good. Time travel commence. Engage more time travel, ladies and gentlemen. All right, everybody. We are back after we recorded yesterday. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
It's been such a long, weird week that I don't know where things are right now in my head. But anyways, Mike Reyes,
dude, yeah,
you get it.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, we're back. Time travel complete. We've got a couple topics to cover real quick as we kind of wrap up the week here. First off, Mike pulled a quick one on me. I'm like, hey, did you watch Roadhouse yet? No, I haven't had time. I'm like, what? Like, legitimately started getting mad.
But that's why I didn't let the joke go too far, because it's like, I was like the second after, it's like, okay, yes, no, I did watch it. It's okay, man.
Oh, you're in your car coming to New Jersey to kill me. That seems fair.
I haven't seen a Claymore that up close.
I'm going to do it with my bare hands. Anyways, all right, so we've got Roadhouse coming out. That's on Prime this weekend, or this weekend, right?
Yeah, it is
or out
on
now.
Prime right. It is on Prime right now. Like, we're back recording on Thursday afternoon. It was up first thing this morning. So you could have come out swinging today. And that's exactly how this movie starts. This movie literally comes out swinging. Like, first shot of this thing is Post Malone getting fists to the face.
Who doesn't want to see?
Or it might have been Post Malone swinging the fist to someone else's face. I forget. I know Post Malone's in the first fight.
Okay. All right. So this, of course, is Jake Gyllenhaal. Conor McGregor's in this. Apparently Post Malone.
Oh, it's Conor McGregor in this.
This is the remake of the classic Patrick Swayze movie. Overall, what do we think?
I understand why Roadhouse went to streaming. But I also understand why it should have went to theaters.
Okay.
Because the whole thing was, apparently there's been a whole mini controversy where director Doug Liman, who's done such films as Swingers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and The Bourne Identity, he was mad that Amazon decided to do this as a streaming release. And then it came out that apparently he was given the option to do a theatrical release or to take more money and shift it to streaming.
Okay.
So apparently the choice was made to take the money, shift it for streaming. And while I see, a friend of mine and I were talking about this, and they were like, why would they even offer that choice? And I told them, look, they were probably looking at, okay, we want to spend, like, say, I think that the final figure was $80 million. I'm just going to put that out there as an example. I don't remember if that's the exact thing. It was like, okay, we want to spend $80 million on this. And I think the offer was either 60 or 70 million. It goes to theaters, but 80 million budget goes to streaming. And they're probably thinking, all right, we're comfortable with spending X money, but how do we want to spend it? And how would we feel if everything would be best served? Like, if we're going to put this in theaters, okay, we only want to spend 60 on production, because then we have to spend this much money on marketing, this much money on sending out prints, this much money on whatever. Like, all the below the line costs are probably what they were keeping in mind. Versus, hey, we send it to streaming, we only have to do XXX. We can spend this money on here and ship this over here, and we just have to worry about the metrics first weekend. And they probably also had enough advertising space on Prime Video with their own programs, with the ads now added. Even if you were an original Prime subscriber from day one, with all that ad space and opportunity, they probably had a nice, decent chunk they could have saved there too. Okay. Because with a streaming movie or with a streaming project, I've certainly noticed you can advertise it pretty last minute. Like, you do not have to do as long of a lead with promoting a streaming project as you do with something that goes to theaters, that possibly goes to home video, because that's another thing I'm sure they were saving money on or formulating into the cost. Is like, if this goes theatrical, it has to go to home video, so we need to spend a certain money on that, putting that together.
All right. Okay.
I see why the offer was made. I think this deserved to be in a theater. I think this is something along the lines of Cocaine Bear, where this is it is an unapologetic, pulpy as action comedy that wears its heart on its sleeve. And one of the writers of The Nice Guys was behind this movie, so that is why it's so quippy, and that is why I think I had such a blast watching this.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, you have not seen the original.
I have not. I've only seen clips from the original, especially the Be Nice sketch. It's not sketch. The Be Nice speech.
The sketch.
Which, by the way, Be Nice. Well, no, Be Nice sketch would be if Chris Farley goes out and like the Swayze mullet from the Chip and Dale sketch and does his own version of the Be Nice speech.
That'd be cool.
They dropped such a small Easter egg to that. It's a throwaway Easter egg. Like in the middle of a big fight between Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal, I think he just randomly says, "Be nice." And it's like, no. I may not be someone who watched the original, but I know that scene.
Yeah.
I know the power of that scene. That is not how you reference that scene in this Roadhouse.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. All right, so for you, it was watchable and a hoot.
Oh, and I've seen a lot. Like I don't know if I told you this in the previous segment, but we on staff we have like a list of what everybody thinks about like their ratings on how these movies go.
Yeah.
And most of the staff like this movie, but there's like one or two holdouts that are like, eh. And just it was mentioned at the staff meeting, and there was just a palpable look of seriously. And it's like I'm kind of in the middle where I see why this is goofy. I see why fans of the original are probably going to. I see this the same way that I saw the Child's Play reboot, if you want to call it. Like it's the same thing where you could have done this under a different title, and you wouldn't have had the OG fans complaining. But I don't think this is a bad new. I don't think this is a bad new spin on things. I think it just needs to be separated as its own thing. This isn't as serious as that. This is more, there's more, like I said, co-writer of The Nice Guys is in here, so it's very much a Shane Black, it's not Shane Black writing, it's Anthony Bagarazzi, I believe is his name. I'm going to look it up just to be sure because I respect writers. That's sweet. Well, I am a writer too, so it's the least I can do. So Anthony Bagarazzi. Yeah, there we go. Anthony Bagarazzi is the co-writer on this, and that guy, I love the cut of his jib because this is very much quip, and then there's that wonderful fight scene where Jake Gyllenhaal's like slapping dudes left and right and just breaks arms and such. And Arturo Castro is someone like remember that name because you should already know that name by now because he's done such wonderful things as he was he was in the Weird Al biopic he was Pablo Escobar in the Weird Al movie. He's been in so many other things that if you saw his face you'd recognize him. Okay. He's also going to be in Tron Ares, which that excites me. He used to have a show on Comedy Central, but Arturo Castro is hysterical, and he's one of the biker gang guys. Okay. And while the dude is fit, he's not exactly muscle-bound, and they play with it so perfectly because he gets to be part of the gang, but he does get his ass kicked. He admits it, and then he gets nice little quips here and there, and then there's one scene with him and Jake Gyllenhaal where he's like, I was never really totally in with those guys. It's like it's hard to ride a motorcycle and not be part of a gang. And like they play the characters so well that it's like the movie understands what it is. Okay. The people understand who they are. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. So Roadhouse, according to Mike Reyes, is worth watching. As long as you have Prime, that is. Real quick, one of the things we didn't cover earlier on. Disney Plus finally released, was it the entire series or just the first episode of X-Men 97? I believe it is a 2-episode premiere, and it's going to be weekly drops from this point. Okay. I was going to say I could look it up. I've got Disney Plus here on my phone. But some of the there had already been some controversy about morph and gender stuff. Then the new controversy out as of last night where people either love it or hate Gambit and his crop top. Which, honestly, if you know that character, it should not surprise you in the least that he's wearing a crop top. Like, people have even cited comic evidence, but also just remembering him from the original show. It's like, dude was a wonderful mutant-powered himbo.
I don't-
And if you need any other evidence to that point, Channing Tatum was supposed to do a Gambit movie.
I don't remember one thing going back. I don't remember Magneto. And let me preface this. I was more for that animation series. I was more in the Spider-Man camp. Like I watched the X-Men, but it wasn't my show. Okay.
Yeah. No, I get you.
I don't remember Magneto having the long flowing hair and being the Magneto he is in this.
I kind of don't remember that either, but it's been a while.
Yeah, that's
I want to go back and watch this show.
Like, I don't remember what any of the stuff was. Like, I remember Jubilee, like, showed up and she befriends Wolverine. And that's kind of it. And the Sentinels. And I think Professor X was in there. Somebody maybe, went underwater or something. I don't know. But I every time I see this Magneto, I'm like, was that the way he was? Did we redo this?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I have not watched this yet, but I thought that was funny. That was the first thing I saw last night when I got home. Gambit in a crop top. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like get off the internet, folks. Just go watch X-Men '97 and go watch the original, because the originals are also on Disney Plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every week to talk about movies. We'll leave it there for this week, Mike. You have yourself a fantabulous rest of the weekend, okay?
You as well, friend, and everyone else enjoy your time at the Roadhouse in space.